Hello to everybody out there, all of my friends and all of my many enemies, all of the YouTube subscribers and Facebook buddies. Once again, one more time for another time of sharing. This is Roosevelt with another episode of Roosevelt Sounds Off. And this is Roosevelt Sounds Off Part 52. Now, for all of you all who didn't know, I did this video earlier, but for some reason when I got it on the computer, I noticed that it was blurry. So blurry that I decided to do it over again. But at that time, I didn't have a title to this video. So I'm going to be talking about some things that are trending here in Chicago. Basically, I'm going to show that us who are the citizens of Chicago are in danger from the criminals and drug dealers and thugs that are on the street. But there's another case that came up regarding someone who was famous on this weekend, and he was in danger from the Chicago Police Department. So I came to the conclusion, after thinking about all of this stuff that has been going on and continues to go on here in the city of Chicago, I decided to call this video Nowhere to Run in Chicago. You know that song by Martha and the Vandellas? Nowhere to run to, baby, nowhere to hide, got nowhere to run to, baby, nowhere to hide. But when she sung that back in the 1960s, it was a love song basically that was very fast and had a very up-tempo beat. You know, a Motown hit, in other words. But when I talk about nowhere to run to here in Chicago, let me give you a couple of points. Point number one is that on Friday morning, there was a young lady who was 32 years old, mother of four, Nakia Aldridge, who was going to enroll her children in school around 64th and Calumet here in Chicago, Illinois. You know, for all of you all who watch me in Chicago, you know exactly where that area is. And she's walking down the street, and she ends up getting gunned down by two brothers, the Sorrells brothers. Both of their names begin with a D, but sometimes I forget which one. I think one is named Damon and another one's named Darwin, some crap. All I know is that one is 26 and one is 22. And the mayor and especially our police superintendent, Eddie Johnson, has spoken out and said that these two brothers had very extensive criminal backgrounds, you know, for violent crimes and carrying guns. Eddie Johnson said they never should have been on the street. And basically, you know what the whole thing stemmed over, which is so stupid nowadays with these younger people? All because they thought another guy who was an Uber driver looked at them in the wrong way. So they started to fire at him, and all 4 or 5 shots miss him and end up killing this mother of four. But there's a twist to this. This case received national news attention because she, Nakia Aldridge, was a cousin of Dwayne Wade. You know, he used to play for a team in Florida. You know, sometimes I'm not always that up on sports, but I know that he was with Miami or Orlando, one of those cities in Florida. I'm pretty sure somebody will tell me or somebody will correct me on that whenever you see this. But all I know is that recently, during the draft earlier this year, he was traded to the Chicago Bulls, so he was going to be starting to play for the Bulls. Because originally he's from Chicago. So he still has his aunt and a whole lot of family and everything here. And he even has a whole lot of like preachers and ministers and everything in the family. And, you know, they're very much into God and into their faith. Because if you listen to some of his family members talk, they say that they are relying on their faith to get them through this terrible situation. And that they even say that they forgive the Sorrells brothers. I mean, I know, for the good of everything and for the good of even of you, that I know that sometimes, you do have to forgive. But if it were me, I don't know if it would come, or let's just say, I don't know if it will come this fast. But it gets national attention all because that is, his cousin. I think if it had been me or someone else, no one would have paid any attention of it. It wouldn't have got a single mention. I was talking to a cousin of mine today when I was editing and putting up another video before this one, and he was telling me that they said they have logged like 455 homicides here in the city of Chicago in between January and now, and over 2,000 something people shot. This is what they have done. But he thinks there's even more shootings and more homicides. He doesn't actually believe that the city of Chicago is posting up all its numbers of shootings and murders here in the city, because if it was, it would be like mass, it would be like a very mass scare. It would be pandemonium almost. That everybody would finally come to the realization that Chicago is not as safe as some people want to try to make it out to be. This is not heaven at all. So I believe that it received more national attention because it's a respect of persons thing. And I believe in the scriptures where it says you shouldn't have respect of persons. You talk about Black Lives Matter or White Lives Matter or Cops Lives Matter. No, I think that all people's lives matter. And I believe that all of us, despite whether we're related to somebody who's famous or not, deserve justice. And if something happened to us out there, we deserve to be taken care of by law enforcement, or we deserve justice just like anybody else. Because I believe it had been the average, Joanne Blow, no one probably would have cared. I mean, this whole case would have been swept under the rug, and they never would have found out who murdered this person, but they found out who murdered her. Shoot, they arrested these people that day. And it made me come to another conclusion, that since we are not all treated the same, it seems like for the police to look into your murder, it seems like there always has to be some extenuating circumstance. Number one, it's like you have to be related to somebody who's famous. Number two, you either got to be a certain minority or a certain gender, basically a woman, or someone who is white. I mean, as far as I'm concerned, women have enough rights and everything over us men. So I don't know why some stupid idiot like Hillary Clinton is up there running on the platform of women's rights. But yet I digress. Or number three, you have to be, possibly disabled. I mean, if something happened to me out there, I would look the same as anybody else, because no one can tell that I have a disability. But once they found out, then maybe, just maybe, they would go and look for who done gunned me down or had done something to me. I got a little bit choked up with something in the throat, but don't worry about me. We're gonna do this video. Even though this is the second time me doing it, trust me, YouTube, we're gonna get through this, okay? Okay. So it shouldn't. My point is, it should not take an extenuating circumstance just for someone to look into what happened to you for you to receive justice. No, everybody's life matters. Everybody deserves justice. Especially we deserve justice and protection from the thugs out there. But we also got to deal with the thugs in the rudeness even on the Chicago Police Department. Another case in point that happened the day after that on a Saturday morning at 7:30. Now, I don't know a whole lot of you all have heard of Rhymefest. Rhymefest is a Chicago hip-hop artist. As a matter of fact, his full name is Shay Rhymefest Smith. And he's a Chicago hip-hop artist who received a couple of Grammys before. Matter of fact, his most recent Grammy was received, I think last year, for the song Glory, which is on the soundtrack of the movie Selma. He worked on that with the rapper Common and also R&B singer John Legend. They all three received a Grammy. Okay, so you would actually think that nothing would ever happen to this man, but it did. I guess he gets into his car, but the car door on the other side was unlocked and he didn't know it. So somebody snuck into his car, and as soon as he gets in the car in the driver's seat, the guy puts a gun to his head and tells him, "You're gonna die today." And Rhymefest just says, "Look, man, what do you want? Just tell me what you want." He still had the gun to his head now. "I want all the money. Just give me all your money." So what Rhymefest does, he gives him his wallet with $3. And I'm not going to use the word lucky, because quite frankly, I really don't believe when it comes down to certain things. I don't believe, many things happen by coincidence, and I don't think that many things happen by luck. I believe in blessings, because I don't think that God deals in luck. So the guy let him go with his life, even over $3. Just give him $3, because as many times when somebody's holding you up and you have a low amount of money, they think that you're holding back on them and will kill you over that amount of money. So the guy lets him go with his life. So what Rhymefest does is drive to the police station in Chatham, and that's the area which he lives. And he's trying to talk to this female officer behind the desk, but she's not paying any attention to him. And she just kept on eating. She was eating and playing a game of Candy Crush on her phone. He's trying to make a police report. She's not even trying to make the report. And then after a while, he takes out his phone and starts videotaping everything. And that's when she gets upset and starts yelling at him and cursing at him. I just wish I could put a link in the description box or find a way, since I'm just learning how to really do some really technical things on YouTube, to put a link in the description box so you all could see how this woman behaved. And mind you, this was a black woman officer, one of our own kind, treating him, Brother Rhymefest, like he's the enemy and he's the victim of a crime. And then her partner or whoever came out, who sounded white and everything to me, he's saying or something, "Well, get your hands out your pocket and everything. You making me nervous and everything." And Rhymefest said, "Well, I'm more nervous or something. I'm the one who just had a gun put to my head." But she keeps on yelling and cursing and all of this other kind of stuff, just completely being rude. That's how come I have said in many other videos that I think that black women officers are the worst officers and the worst stewards of policing on planet Earth. That's how come I don't know if I could completely date a woman who's an officer. Another case in point, a little bit off subject, but I think it relates, so I'm gonna tell this story anyway. A few years ago I was in Best Buy, and I was in the line for the Geek Squad, so they could take a look at my computer. And there were 2 Chicago police officers, female officers, black female officers behind me. And, just like you women aren't stupid, and when a guy's trying to hit on you, us men, we're not stupid either, and we know when a woman is trying to hit on us. So, she's trying to say little things and everything to me, trying to put on a smile and everything. Didn't get said I'm Officer so-and-so. Usually when they say I'm Officer so-and-so, they would tend to give you their last name. No, she's trying to give me her first name and, trying to shake my hand, but at the time I snatched my hand away. People to this day still ask me now why I did that. They tell me, one of my friends gonna tell me, "Roosevelt, why did you do something like that? Because golly, that could have been your wife that God was sending to you. That could have been the next Mrs. Slaughter." I was like, well, I guess now we'll never know, now will we? Because one thing I notice about dating or even being married to a police officer is that no matter what, it's different than any other kind of job in the whole world. That job in a relationship or a marriage is always going to come before you. And at the age I am now, ain't nothing or nobody going to come before me. No one or nothing is going to come before me except one person, or should I say, maybe 3 people. And that would be the Father, Son, and the Holy Ghost is the only three people who's going to come before me in a marriage or relationship. Other than that, I don't want to have anything. Moving on with the story, she's trying to talk to me, but what really made me feel more uncomfortable about the whole thing was the way her partner was talking. Loudmouth talking and using cuss words, every single, other word that comes out of her mouth, swearing loudly over children and elderly people and women. But yet, if it were me or you out there who acted the same way in a public place, we'd be asked to leave. But yet, just because this is a police officer, everybody wants to justify it, and they want to act like it's right, and everybody wants to turn a blind eye. That's what I can't stand about a whole lot of people. They act like it's supposed to be a different standard for them versus the average person. And even getting back to the story with Rhymefest, he had just been robbed at gunpoint, had a gun put to his head. And I feel that anytime you go to a police officer, go to a police station, you are going there to get help. You are not going there to get treated like a criminal or be victimized after you have just been victimized already. That's why I called this message Nowhere to Run. Because in the street, we can't run to the criminals and thugs because we stand a chance of being killed out there. But yet if we're victimized on that end, with a whole lot of us who are even victims of crime, we're too afraid to run over to the police because we're too afraid of being victimized and killed over here. It was no excuse why that would happen to Rhymefest. And this is a Grammy Award winning artist, hip hop artist. The only reason in the end why here comes another extenuating circumstance, why they decided to be nice is only because in the end they found out who he was and found out he was a Grammy Award winning hip hop star. That's when things changed. But my point is, it never should have got there in the first place. You should not have to be somebody who's famous. You should not have to be somebody who's rich. You should not have to be somebody who's related to a famous person. You should not have to be anything. Just be a human being in order to get some respect in this world from the people who are supposed to be there to protect you. Because as a police officer, they took an oath. They raised their right hand and took an oath to God. I swear or affirm that I will defend the rights of the United States Constitution and the people to which the city that I belong or will serve. This has not been happening. And now we have another holiday weekend coming upon us, which is Labor Day. And just like anybody else, I think the Jazz Fest is this weekend, one of my more favorite festivals, music festivals here in Chicago. And just like anybody else, I would love to go to the Jazz Fest on maybe Friday night or Saturday. I would love to be able to go to church on Sunday since it's Communion Sunday. I would love to be able to go to a barbecue hang with some of my friends on the West Side, since a whole lot of my friends are on the West Side. I would love to do all of this, but sometimes I wonder, by me doing a whole lot of these things, I wonder about being in the street and what will happen to me, either at the hands of a gangster or a thug, or by a police officer. Can I be in the way? Or can I just be will I be an innocent bystander when bullets start flying just because two idiots had a disagreement with another one? Because I might be hard sometimes on police, but as I get older, I'm starting to look at this thing as how it completely really is. Looking at this thing on both sides. As black people, it's really some of us or a whole lot of us, should I say, who behave like animals. Walking down the street with your pants halfway hanging down, drinking 40 ounces of beer, throwing your empty beer bottles on the ground, letting them smash up, driving through the neighborhood, playing loud hip-hop, demonic music, smoking weed, and only thing you can smell whenever you come into a black neighborhood is nothing but weed, piss, and beer. Just behave like animals, and a whole lot of people would not like me to talk like this because they would say that this is too harsh, that you're talking against the behavior of your own people. It may be because you cannot enjoy what I say. It's only because you are an animal. I believe the reason how come I feel that police would be harder on me, they can stop me over something that is simple. Something that is very small. Of course, here we go, majoring in the minors again. Because in this city, we have many unsolved murders. But yet police, they want to focus on smaller crimes. We need to stop enforcing smaller crimes until we deal with some of the tragic murders in this city. We need to close the freaking book. We need to stop enforcing smaller crimes. But as many times a police officer might stop me, and I consider myself to be a good, God-fearing, law-abiding citizen, and just because of how some black men out there are acting, the way that they talk, the way that they walk, the way that they carry themselves, excuse me, that's just the house phone ringing. I'm not answering it. We're going to get through this now. The reason why they would treat me the way that they would treat me, as bad as they might treat me, is only because they would think that I was like everyone else. Because many younger black men, like the Sorrell brothers, have made it hard for some of us good, God-fearing men to make it in this city and in this country. Because police, they look at all of us and think all of us are fools and think that all of us are animals, when it's truly only a few. It's not all of us. But it's because of this animalistic behavior. And I believe, you have a whole lot of people out there like, Larry Elder and even Sheriff Clark out of Milwaukee County, Sheriff David Clark. He says that, he's a black man, but I think that he's also very, very heavily whitewashed also. He's dark as I am, but he's extremely whitewashed to where I think that he's against his own people. But some things he says might be right. He says that he believes that the reason why you have crime and a whole lot of problems within the black community is only because of fatherlessness. Because you have a whole lot of these mothers, trying to raise men or trying to raise boys, but a woman really can't teach a boy what he needs to know. That can really only be imparted from another man. So, you all have heard me say it many, many times, that there's a difference between women and men. Women, when it comes down to many situations, are much more emotional. Men are logical. No, those are just, it's not anything that has to do with, what we call male chauvinism. I'm not being chauvinistic, that's just how that is. Where women are much more emotional and men are logical. So therefore, by a whole lot of black males being raised by women, and they have a problem out there on the street, either, somebody has said something to them or someone does something to them, or either in this case of the Sorrells brothers, someone looks at them in the wrong way, they go and choose to have an emotional response. And that's basically because most of these boys have been raised by women. So they respond emotionally because they have not had a male in their life to come and balance them out and to tell them that they cannot react like that. I even heard one pastor say a long time ago that the prisons are full of men who acted emotionally, who did things at the heat of the moment, and now that they are in prison, they are sorry that they ever did it. This is some of the problem within the community, but whenever you talk about this kind of stuff, people want to say that you done sold out and that you are coming against your own community. But all of this, these are facts. This is why we're having so many problems within the black community. That's the reason how come a person like me can't hardly go anywhere and can't hardly walk down the street. Nowhere to run to in Chicago. Can't hardly get on the bus without seeing a problem. I mean, a couple of years ago, I got shot at. And why? Nobody was shooting at me or the group of people I was with individually. No. He was shooting at another person who was a few feet away from us in a car that had nothing to do with the rest of us. Nowhere to run to in Chicago. But yet, on the other hand, I feel unsafe with Chicago police, especially 11 years ago after my home was raided. Nowhere to run to in Chicago. I feel that if I go to a police officer, especially if I'm a victim of crime, like Brother Rhymefest was, that I'm going to be talked to, talked down to, treated badly. Nowhere to run to in Chicago. I'm going to keep on saying that until it sinks in. And now with another holiday weekend coming up, and they're predicting that this could be bad because it seems like every single holiday weekend here in Chicago has been. There's still nowhere to run to in Chicago. I guess the only thing that you can do, because I don't want to, and just like you probably shouldn't either, want to just stay in your house and just live as a hermit and, be too afraid to go out. But at the same time, I would just only have to say that whenever you go out, just be aware of your surroundings, of, things are going on around you. But first of all, before you leave, let me not go too far. It's just to, before you leave, whisper a little prayer that God will encamp his angels around about you. Because it does say in an old gospel song from years ago, all night and all day, the angels are watching over me. Yes. God has his angels watching over all of us, because in this day and time, here in Chicago, since there is nowhere to run to in Chicago as far as man goes, that's what we're going to have to go on. That's what we're going to have to depend on. But not only pray, but also get to work. What I mean by that is get to work in talking to some of these people on the corner. Get to work in maybe helping to mentor the younger boys, in your neighborhood. The younger boys even within your family. I'm starting with my godson right now, who's 15 years old, who's in that very influential age, who doesn't really have his father in his life. I'm trying to start now. Even though I've never had any natural children of my own. But, trying to start somewhere, one person at a time. Teach whatever it is you know to those who do not know. Don't just pray, but also get to work. Start working. Because it also says in the Holy Scriptures that faith without works is dead. Prayer and believing in God and going to church, that might all be a part of your faith, but without works, that faith is nothing. It's filthy rags. So I hope that everybody out there this weekend coming up to Labor Day will be good, and I hope that everybody will have a happy and safe Labor Day. And in case you like this video, because I'm going to end this video, I'm going to leave that right where it is. In case you like this video, be sure to give me a thumbs up. Be sure to comment, like, subscribe, and share. And I will see you in the next video. Thank everybody for watching. All of my friends out there on Facebook, all of my friends on YouTube, thank you for watching. See you for the next video. Right now, this is Roosevelt signing off. See you for the next Roosevelt Sounds Off very, very soon. Peace and blessings to all.